The good news is the Dodgers scored 8 runs. The bad news is that the Dodgers allowed more than 8 runs and lost to the Rockies in game 2 of the series. We will talk about the bullpen decisions. We'll talk about the offense. We'll talk about Clayton Kershaw's non-update, and we'll get into some interesting trade ideas that we saw in an article. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Check out Game Time. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to listen every day and become a part of the group known as the Everydayers, you can make it easy by subscribing wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube and get it sent directly to your phone whenever episodes are ready. So go and do that and make your life easier. If this is your first time listening and watching, I'm Vince Samperio and usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider, although Jeff is out for today, just me. We're both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered the team, that have been in the press box, been in the locker room, been all over Dodger Stadium, been at a few different ballparks to watch the Dodgers, not just Dodger Stadium. And while we're not quite insiders, we're here to bring you what we think is a smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. And that's what I'm here to do today. It's a little bit not as fun to bring you smart fans perspective when the Dodgers lose games, especially in games that they scored 8 runs. But hey, that's the nature of the game sometimes. The Dodgers lost 9-8 to the Rockies yesterday. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't too much fun. But the good news is that the Dodgers were able to get 5 innings out of Michael Grove. Finally some length out of him. And they weren't the worst 5 innings in the world. He did give up 4 runs, 8 hits, 2 walks. But even though he put the runners on, when the runs did score, the runs scored on not hard contact, some weak bloopers that just happened to fall in. That ended up scoring, I think, 3 of those 4 runs. On the flip side, the Dodgers offense did benefit from some soft contact as well. But you know what? I if you were gonna take the day, a bullpen game, with the names that pitched, and say that the Dodgers would have a chance to win, you would have been happy, but you wouldn't have been less happy when it was the Dodgers scored 8 runs and the Rockies scored 9 runs. But you know what? For Grove, a good step to get that length. He still is struggling to put away hitters. He's still struggling to, miss bats when he needs to. But for this run the Dodgers are on, the way things are going, the 5 innings was, and 4 runs. If you can throw more innings than runs scored, that's a win at this point for the Dodgers when it comes to Michael Grove. So they'll take that. The fact that it didn't quite work out goes more toward the bullpen side of things, where the bullpen should have been able to handle things. But on the bullpen side of things, it was Victor Gonzalez, Nick Robertson, Phil Bickford, who pitched after Grove. Bickford was the only one with the clean inning. Victor Gonzalez came in and was not good. He only got 1 out, and he gave up 2 hits and ended up being charged for 3 runs. He did strike out a guy, but that didn't matter. He gave up those 2 hits, and he hit a guy, and that loaded the bases. And this is kind of where the biggest decision of the game came in. So Victor Gonzalez came in the 6th. He had loaded the bases, couple hits, hit by pitch, and Dave Roberts goes to Nick Robertson, which was obviously not the first choice in probably any of our eyes. And Nick Robertson proceeded to give up a bases clearing hit. The Rockies took the lead back. They went up 8-6 against the Dodgers, and never relinquished that lead. They ended up adding a run in the next inning, and that next inning was the same inning. And in that same inning, they scored 5 runs in that 6th inning. 3 charged to Gonzalez, 2 charged to Robertson. Although technically Robertson is the one that allowed the runs to all score. So yeah, so the decision to go to Robertson was an interesting one considering he's not a high leverage guy. He's not a guy you expect to put in when when you need outs, when the bases are loaded with the one out. And he's a guy that hasn't pitched very often or often lately, which is probably the most surprising of the thing of or the reasoning for him to pitch was that he was a fresh arm, but also the fact that he hasn't pitched very often the last since he's come up is probably a reason because he's not that good. He had that electric first inning when he came up and made his major league debut, and then after that, it's kind of been downhill. But he pitched against Houston one inning over the weekend, and then he hadn't pitched since then. Since sorry, since June 17th, he's pitched three times, and it was June 17th, June 25th, and then yesterday against the Rockies. I kind of forgot he was still in the bullpen because I didn't watch any of the Rocky or Astro games this past weekend, and he hadn't pitched since the Giants series. And the Dodgers are seemingly getting more healthy and had better bullpen performance, and likely that better bullpen performance is because Nick Robertson hasn't pitched, and he's the weakest link on this bullpen right now. So, but why would Dave Roberts go to Nick Robertson in what became and what was at the moment the biggest part of the game? And it's simply a matter of, well, one, he was a fresh arm, and two, like, because of that, he the Dodgers had a bunch of guys that have thrown a lot recently. On in Monday or Tuesday's game, Brusdar Graterol pitched. You had Evan Phillips ended up having to come in and pitch, and Ryan Brazier pitched. I don't know what Brazier's availability is in terms of back to backs or anything like that. Obviously, that might have been someone better to go to. Brusdar Graterol, even though they had the off day Monday, had pitched in 3 of the last 4 games. Evan Phillips had pitched in the last 3 games. Even with the off day, it's still a matter of, you're getting guys throwing 3 out of 4 days, 4 out of 5 days, 4 out of 6 days, which is still a lot. And I know I advocated for Dodgers going for the wins when they can, especially, when it comes down to it. But that's in sense of using your best arms that are healthy rather than, your best arms all the time or best arms that are not overused. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, Caleb Ferguson was available. He's not necessarily a guy you bring in that situation. Would he have done better? Possibly. You never know, and yeah, I mean, he might have worked out better. You had Yancy Almonte, I think Dave Roberts, I forget, he said something about he didn't want to get a guy with an up down, and that's the way it goes. So it ended up being Nick Robertson. Yeah, Dave Roberts said you're shorthanded with some guys, some leverage guys, but you still got to go out there with the guys you have and make pitches tonight, and we just didn't do that. And yeah, that's just a matter of how it is. You can't throw the same guys every single time. You got to be able to trust some of these guys. Unfortunately, that trust fell into the lap of Nick Robertson last night, and it didn't quite work out. The good news is that if Daniel Hudson does come back this weekend, that likely pushes Robertson out of the bullpen and back into the minor leagues. Good news for the Dodgers, not necessarily for Robertson. We're not trying to dunk on him. It's just a matter of that's the way it is. He is the weakest link in the bullpen at the moment. And then you get back another leverage guy. Because the Dodgers have bullpen guys, but they don't necessarily have leverage guys. They have Evan Phillips and Caleb Ferguson, and then Graterol is used as a leverage guy, even though he hasn't pitched good enough to be a leverage guy so far this season. You have Yancy Almonte, who could be a leverage guy, but hasn't pitched to that. Hasn't pitched to that this season either. So the Dodgers are still trying to figure it out. They're a little bit shorthanded, and I think they went with what they could yesterday and it didn't work out. And, the offense almost brought it back. They had the bases loaded there with JD Martinez up in the 8th inning after putting up a couple runs. They weren't able to bring anything in. They had, runner on in the last inning weren't able to bring anything in. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So we did get an update kind of on Clayton Kershaw. So we'll talk about that situation and all the options there. And then we're going to finish out today's episode talking about some interesting trade ideas that I saw. That's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. The Game Time app is perfect. If you're somebody that has an impulsive nature to you and you think, man, oh, the Dodgers play tomorrow, or oh, there's a concert tonight, or oh, there's something, tomorrow and I want to go. But you don't have tickets. They don't have tickets available on the website. So you got to go check out the app. Game Time app is the perfect one for you. The fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals on last minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and get hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Game Time, is the place for last minute ticket deals. You can browse through the app, talk about or look for the events you're looking at. You can see the images from where you're sitting. You can get some event cancellation protection, job loss protection, find events in your area, all that good stuff. They got exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And they have the Game Time guarantee, which means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check us out wherever you have podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out SiriusXM or the SXM app if you want to listen to us. You can search Locked On Dodgers on there, or you can listen to the home broadcast for every Dodger game if you're not able to watch on TV. All you got to do is search Dodgers, that's SiriusXM or the SXM app. All right, so we left Tuesday night a little concerned about Clayton Kershaw, and he took himself out of the game after 6 innings, even though he didn't have that many pitches. He was very cryptic about what the issue was after the game. He just said that he felt something and he pulled himself out, and he thinks that was the right move. We were expecting to get a little bit of an update on Wednesday, and we didn't get too much of an update. The main update that we got is that it's not his back, which Dave Roberts said that. He said that it wasn't his back, and we know that Justin Brule was with the Dodgers, added to the taxi squad in case that they had to make a move for the injured list for Kershaw. Dave Roberts said that Kershaw came to the park, did some running, worked out, would not be any more specific about what the issue was, but did say it's not his back. And you can look at that two ways, positively and negatively. Like, if it's not his back, that's a good sign because he's had a lot of back issues in the past few years. And, maybe it just is an issue of fatigue or, or the elevation, the heat with the elevation. That's possible. The other part is, well, if it's not his back, you automatically kind of go to his arm and, was his arm feeling something? And then you think of like, oh, I came out at the right time. I made the right thing. I made the right decision. Did he feel something in his arm? And that's what ended up happening. But it could also be something in his legs. Could be, hamstring, groin, something like that. We don't know. Clayton Kershaw, worked out. He's expected to throw like a bullpen or see where he's at on Friday or Saturday. Then they'll kind of decide what the next step is or what they're going to do. That's assuming that he still feels good every single day that he comes in. If he comes in, tonight or today into Colorado, not feeling great and says, you know what, I'm probably not. It's probably better for me to take a little break. Then Justin Brule get added to the roster, and the Dodgers have to figure out that contingency plan for the rest of it after. But Yeah, it's still obviously it's always going to be concerning when you don't know what the issue is. The fact that nobody seems too concerned could be, normally you think, okay, if they don't seem too concerned, everything's okay. But again, this is the Dodgers. Dave Roberts has shown non-concern, and then guys end up getting Tommy John surgery the next week. Not by any fault of his own. Sometimes they literally don't know what's wrong until they figure out what's wrong. So, but yeah, I think the fact that not his back is a win. I do think it's just a matter of, he's thrown 95 innings already this season. He threw 126 all of last season. He just threw in elevation in the heat. And, maybe even Kershaw sees that. I don't know, at this point, personal accolades, I'm not sure how much Clayton Kershaw is into those. Making the All Star game, is that a big deal to him? Or, maybe he's even, I wouldn't put it past like Kershaw looking ahead, be like, you know what? If I take a break right now, I really only miss one start realistically. And I don't have to travel to Seattle for All Star festivities. I can just hang out and take a break and then come back uh, after the All Star break. And I wouldn't put it past them, But again, this is all just speculation and thoughts from somebody that has a lot of thoughts about it because he talks about it on a podcast for the Dodgers. So we don't really know. I wouldn't say Kershaw would be that type of guy. He's very competitive, but also, realistic. This is one where he can get a nice little 2.5 week break and only miss one start realistically. So, um, well, obviously we're gonna have to wait and see what happens, and go from there. But yeah, I think there's benefits to him doing this right now that go beyond just him resting, but also just this is kind of a built-in break moment. The Dodgers wouldn't be too hampered by it. They'd have to fill a couple spots, but realistically, obviously not ideal. Like you're not in the market to be punting baseball games at the moment. Even though last night some people may think Dave Roberts punted that game, but again, that was just a matter of the situation. Could he have gone a different way? That used guys that weren't overused, yes, but again, it just didn't quite work out. But I do think Kershaw misses. Even if they called up, Gavin, even though Gavin Stone's been struggling, they called up Gavin Stone to fill in for a couple games. They could get by if they really needed to. So we'll see what happens, with Kershaw and everything else. And that's all we can really do because we don't know and we're not there. So the last part of today's episode is going to be I saw an article on Bleacher Report with 5 trade ideas to get the Dodgers back atop the NL West. Some of them are intriguing, some of them are interesting, and as always, the returns on some of these are kind of funny to look at. So that's what's on top. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. Become an everydayer by listening every day, and you'll be part of that exclusive club. And remember, SiriusXM or the SXM app, you can listen to the home broadcast for every Dodger game. All you got to do is search Dodgers. Dodgers play tonight against the Rockies again, same time, 5:40. So if you can't watch, you can listen SiriusXM, SXM app. Just search Dodgers. All right. So we've talked a lot about trade deadlines and trades and things of that nature, but it's time for the time of the year where we see articles with potential trades or thoughts for the Dodgers. And I saw one yesterday on Bleacher Report, and the headline was 5 trade ideas to get slumping Dodgers back atop the NL West. The Dodgers are still a good team. I wouldn't know if they're slumping. I guess they're slumping technically in the month of June. They're 10-12 in June. Even if they win these last 2 games, it'll be their first. I think Eric Steven put out a tweet. It'll be their first non-winning month since May of 2018, which is kind of on par for this season since 2018 was the last frustrating season, or like annoyingly frustrating season the Dodgers have. But either way, we'll look at these 5 trades and kind of see what they're at. And he identified center field, second base, left field, shortstop as some of the issues with the Dodgers, along with pitching. So the first deal comes James Paxton and Adam Duvall from the Red Sox, and the Dodgers end up giving up River Ryan and Maddox Bruns. Now, James Paxton has dealt with a lot of injuries last few years. He missed a lot of 2020, 2021, all of 2022. He's back now. He's healthy at the moment. He's pitching well-ish. He's got a 3.19 ERA and 8 starts, 42 innings pitched. So he's playing well. Adam Duvall had that crazy hot start to the season. He's back from injury now. It remains to be seen if he's going to be able to keep up that pace, but he would be a guy that could help out the Dodgers, essentially where Johnny DeLuca is getting time now. You could get Adam Duvall in there, and he can play, not just against lefties, although he likely would he's handled lefties well in the past. But, Paxton and Duvall is probably an underrated, and, one of the deals that you could see the Dodgers making, like, guys you weren't expecting. The Red Sox are at 500. I would imagine they're going to be available to sell, just because they're even at 500, they're still so far back, or they're still not in first place or second place or third place. And I don't think they're in fourth place either in their division. They have the toughest division, right? Realistically, there's only 3 teams outside of the division winners that make the playoffs, and they're chasing 3 teams just in their division alone. It helps that the AL Central is not good, so they're also not competing with anybody there really. But also the AL West has like 4 teams that are, or 3 or 4 teams that are playing above 500. So they could make the trade. River Ryan and Maddox Bruns is interesting because, you're not getting anybody. Paxton and Duvall are going to help you this year, and you don't know if they can really help you beyond this year. And, River Ryan's really climbed the boards the last few years as a prospect. And then Maddox Bruns was their first round pick, and who's, shown some flashes there and started to throw more strikes, cut down on his walks so far this season. So for me, I don't know if I would throw both of those guys, maybe one of those guys and then another like flyer type. It just seems like a lot to get 2 guys that you can't say for sure are going to help you, um, you know, at the moment. Paxton is pitching well now, but he's also been hurt or missed all the season, the last 3 seasons. And then Duvall is had a crazy hot start to the year, then missed a lot of time. You don't know if he's going to be able to bring that back. And Duvall's been good for the most part, but you never know. The next one comes Cardinals, Jordan Montgomery and Dylan Carlson. Montgomery starting pitcher. Carlson can play the outfield. And this one was interesting because he gave up Gavin Stone, Nick Frosso, and Maddox Bruns, which I don't see that happening at all. Jordan Montgomery is good, but he's not necessarily a game changer. He can start a playoff game for you and be okay, but he's not going to be your number 2 or 3 guy, or he might be a 3 guy if you have like a really, really, really good offense, but he's not going to be much more beyond that. I don't see him being that guy, and also he's a free agent after this season. So yeah, you're trading for a rental, um, which is not going to get you those prospects listed, even with a guy like Dylan Carlson attached to. Dylan Carlson has been good, but he's not great. This year he has an OPS plus of 98. Like, he's not an above average hitter so far this season. The Dodgers have a lineup full of guys that aren't above average hitters, so it doesn't necessarily help you out too much. Although with Carlson, you do get some. He's not a free agent until after the 2026 season, so you get some, years with him. But I don't think the years that he's giving you is necessarily worth what the Dodgers would be giving up. Now, this package of Montgomery and Carlson would be intriguing in general, just not for what's added. And the thing with Carlson is that he's really good against lefties. He's hitting over 300 with an OPS over 800 against lefties, which is kind of what the Dodgers would need. But again, for Dylan Carlson and Jordan Montgomery. You're not giving up Gavin Stone, who was one of your top pitching prospects, Nick Frosta, who's coming up, as one of your better pitching prospects, and then Maddox Bruns, who was just a first round pick not that long ago, and hasn't had, he's continued to improve. It's not like he's a guy that the Dodgers are giving up on. He's actively improving. So the next one comes with the Guardians, Shane Bieber and Ahmed Rosario. And then the Guardians would get Michael Bush, Jose De Paula, and Rain Doncon, a shortstop prospect. Now, this one, if you said the Dodgers were going to get Shane Bieber and Ahmed Rosario for Bush, De Paula, and Rain Doncon, I could see this happening a little bit in terms of like value. Shane Bieber, while he's not the ace that he used to be, he's still an above average pitcher. You got Ahmed Rosario, who's not necessarily an above average hitter. And, I don't know how much he upgrades you at shortstop. He does upgrade you a bit. But, Rojas is starting to put the bat to the ball, starting to hit a little bit better. And, to give up prospects for a guy with an 83 OPS plus as part of the deal, Shane Bieber's not that good to be giving up 3 prospects for him. Now they are a little bit, younger prospects, a little bit more flyer types, but I don't know if that's worth it at the moment. Now, this package of Rosario and Bieber is, again, intriguing. I don't know if it would be for the proposed deal here. Michael Bush at this point, I feel like he's going to get traded no matter what, unless there's an injury or unless they say, hey, you know what, Michael Bush, we're going to give you a chance now, legitimately, because, Miguel Vargas, we're giving him days off, but it's not quite working out. And we need to see if you can, help us out. If not, we need to decide what we want to do. Jose De Paula is a guy that's going to be a top 100 prospect by next year at the early, or maybe by next year, if not, definitely by mid next year. A guy that the Dodgers are excited about. And then Rain Doncon, I'm not going to lie, I haven't heard of him before, but I know he's up there in the top 15 to 20 Dodger prospects. I just don't know much about him specifically, but that's a deal that could happen. The next one is Marcus Stroman, Patrick Wisdom, and Michael Fulmer from the Cubs. And all the Dodgers would give up in this one is Dalton Rushing. Now, this one's interesting. If based on that, yeah, that's a good trade in terms of what you're getting. Marcus Stroman, who can opt out after this season, is pitching very, very well this year. Has a 2.47 ERA in 17 starts. He's competing with Kershaw to start the All-Star game, realistically. And he's a guy that has been good since last All-Star break. So it's not just like this. I mean, he's been good before, obviously, but he's been really good since last All-Star break. He's pitched in big moments before. He's a guy that fits what the Dodgers need. Patrick Wisdom is a guy who Wisdom and Fulmer are kind of like flyer throw-ins here. They both have not been that great this year, and you don't exactly know what you're going to get from them. Wisdom does have 14 home runs, but again, he's only hitting 196 with an on base of 285. So, not ideal there. Fulmer has a 4.98 ERA, but he's a guy that, the Dodgers could, tweak a few things and maybe figure out. So when you look at it that way, Dalton Rushing is, another high flyer, high flying prospect for the Dodgers, consistently moving up the boards. If you're getting them, straight up for Marcus Stroman, and then you get Wisdom and Fulmer added in, it still might be worth it. The Dodgers do have Will Smith and Diego Cartaya. It's not like they have a huge opening at catcher here in the next few years. But again, I could see why the Dodgers would not want to do that. But this would be one where if you're only going to give up one guy and you're getting a guy that for sure will help you and 2 guys that could help you, it might be something worth exploring. And the last one is Lucas Giolito and Tim Anderson, with the Dodgers giving up Nick Frosto and prospect Jesus Galiz. Now, Frosto is tough to give up, but if you're getting Giolito, that's a rental. You get Tim Anderson for this year and next. In theory, that could be beneficial. Jesus Galiz is a younger catcher that they signed. I don't know if the Dodgers want to give up on him, or not give up on him, but I don't know if the Dodgers would want to put 2 guys into this trade, especially considering they're kind of helping out. Galiz is a guy that is known high upside. And I'm not sure if the Dodgers would want to throw in high upside or get a little bit more depth from guys that are closer to the major leagues. But Giolito, Tim Anderson, Giolito fits for sure. Tim Anderson, we've talked about him a lot, and maybe change of scenery would help him out. You never know. So those are all the trades there. Some interesting names that we haven't talked about before, and maybe that might come up here in the next couple weeks or into the next month. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check us out wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. You can also check us out on SiriusXM or the SXM app. If you search Locked On Dodgers, you can listen to the Dodgers home broadcast if you search Dodgers on there as well. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincent91. You can get a hold of us in any of those DMs. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, text my device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.